habits and attitudes, so they call it habitudes. And there's a number of lessons, but I'm going to be doing the first lesson with you all today, inshallah. Right, and the lesson that we're going to be doing today is on the iceberg. Now there's a quick exercise I want you to do. Now I'm going to show you three things. One is a banana, the other is an egg, and the third thing is nut. So what are the three things I'm showing you? What is common between all three of them? All food, okay. What else?
They all have shells.
All have?
Shells outside. Covering.
All have coverings. Is that correct? Each one of them have got a covering. Right, now what I want you to do, in the groups that you formed the last time, right, in the groups that you formed the last time, I want you to write down how many different things have got coverings with something inside. This is a covering with the peel, the banana inside, shell and the egg inside, and shell and the nut inside, right? So I want you in your groups of threes, I want you to write down how many different things you can think of very quickly in the next 5 minutes that have got a covering and something inside. Write down the items and just number them. So one person can write, the other two can just contribute. Let's do it quickly, please. There's another 4-finger Kit Kat for you, whoever wins it. Right, quick. Simple exercise. Okay, so the mothers also want to be involved. But you can also do. Right, some are into the 6, the 7s. Some are only 2. One person, right? Others can contribute. One minute left.
Does it have to be food only?
Anything. Right, the question is, does it have to be food? Not necessarily. Anything that has a shell and something inside. Or a covering and something inside. Okay, time's up. Who's got the highest number? Anyone? Who thinks they've got the highest number? How many you got? 12. You got 12. Anyone got more than 12? How many? 13. 13. Anyone higher than 13? And I'll have to see then. You can't just say it's more than 13. Who's got more than 13? 12. Okay, what's your 13? Read them out for us, please, quickly. Quick, quick, quick. Loudly.
Oranges, lychees, peaches, pistachios, snails, oysters, watermelons, lemons, turtles, crabs, cows and humans.
Right, so you got prawns. You got prawns, oranges, leeches, nachos, pistachios, snails, oysters, watermelon, lemon, humans. Humans, humans. Turtles, crabs, cars. Cars. Okay, who's got more than 13? No one. Okay, how many of you on the team there? 3. Okay. So you already got a Kit Kat. Okay. There's something for you. Something for you. Thank you. Very good. Right. So you've given me some things that have an outer covering and some things that are covered, right? So for instance, the egg, it's got a shell and it's got the egg inside itself. Or a banana, you've got a banana peel, and or you've even given the example of an oyster. It's got a shell outside and a pearl inside. Right? So, what do you think is more important? What is on the outside or what is on the inside? What is on the inside is more important. What is on the outside, is it important as well? Why would it be important? Because the outside protects the inside. So, if you have a banana without a banana peel, what type of banana you have? Huh? It won't be clean. If you have an egg shell without an egg inside, or if you have an egg without a shell, what type of egg is going to be? So both are important. What is more important? What is more important? What is on the inside? Outside or inside? What is on the outside is more important. If you've got a shell outside and you've got the actual egg inside, if you've got a banana peel outside and a banana inside, if you've got an oyster shell outside and a pearl, valuable pearl inside, what is more important? What is more valuable? Who disagrees? Who says the outside is more important than the inside? Think about it. Whilst both are valuable, what's on the inside is more important. Isn't that so? Make sense? Okay. Now we're going to be doing the lesson. We can continue after lunch, after our keynote speaker. We're going to do the lesson of the iceberg. What percentage of the iceberg can you see above the water normally, and what percentage of it is below the water? What, how many percent? 5 or 25? How many is above the water? 25. What do you all say? 70, 30. 30 on top, 70 at the bottom. Who got another view? What do you say? What can you see? 25, 75. Yes? 25, 75. Okay, they say that normally you can see 10% of the iceberg. Right, so 10% is what you see, what's visible, and the balance is invisible. Now, what they normally say is, in the context of what we're discussing, this particular lesson is on character. Character. The 10% is your skills, what you can do, your qualifications, your occupation, your skills, etc. Right? So 10% is the skills, 90% is the character. So what is more important, the skills or the character? What's more important? What is it that it's easy to learn? Is it easy to learn skills or is it easy to learn character? What? Skills or character? Skills. Easy to learn skills, very difficult to learn character. When people are going for job interviews now, more emphasis, if you go to the top companies in the world, more emphasis is placed on character than skills. People have a look at your CVs, but they want to know who you are as a person. Because if all of you are engineers, your CVs will be the same. They want to see who you are, whether you'll fit into the culture of the organization, whether you are honest, whether you've got integrity, whether you've got a proper attitude. That is more important. Because where you lack in skills, that can be taught. They can send you for courses, you can upskill, but character can't be taught. They can't. Now, if you go there with a bad character, bad attitude, how are they going to teach you those things? So skills is what gets you into the door, but what keeps you in the organization is your character. Do you agree with that? So what's more important? Character or skills? What you see visible is more important, or the invisible is more important? Invisible is more important. Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to the second half of today's seminar. And we are very, very fortunate to have Brother Muhammad Farooq Hayat, He's going to be the keynote speaker. He's going to be giving you some advices regarding life in general and also what to expect as you are growing up, because he's been a principal for many, many years and he's been through what you are going through now, and he's mentored hundreds of thousands of students. So a little about Mr. Bayat. Mr. Bayat has been a principal for almost 25 or 30 years. He's been with New West Secondary School for most of his teaching career. Prior to that, he was with a few other schools, Lake Haven High School, and as I mentioned earlier, the importance of continuous education. And Mr. Bayat, after getting his teaching qualification, the BA and UHDE, he continued with his further qualifications, and he's got a string of qualifications to his name. BA, BEd, MEd, Educational Administration, MSc, Educational Management, and the final one he's got in 1992 from Edinburgh, University of Watt in Scotland. So you notice from this, together with all the other dignitaries we had from the morning, the professionals, there's no end to learning. There's no end to improving your qualifications as well. And Mr. Bayat has been a driving force behind the success of New West Secondary School. And it's a school, I think so, in the Sikau Lake area. And this particular school has produced excellent matriculants. So much so that in one of the years, 2014, there was a student by the name of Garrett David Montgomery, who was the top matriculant in the country. And around that time, or in 2012, there was one female who was number 3 in the country, another female who was the second in KZN. So you can see the standard that he has been instilling in his school over the years. And because of this initiative of his, you notice that he's done a number of additional things. He's taken the initiative to get involved in things like annual inter-school environmental quiz, which he initiated and has attracted 400 participants and been running since COP17. Then he's also got a primary schools mathematics challenge that's been running since 2016. Because of all these years of service, 42 years of service in total, in January 2017, Mr. Bayat retired. But because of the service that he gave to the community as well as to the education department, he was the winner of the OR Tambo Lifetime Achievement Award in 2017. So we are very, very fortunate to have someone with his experience, expertise, who's going to be giving you some words of advice. And the topic that he has chosen today is on the 4th Industrial Revolution, among other topics. So the whole idea is to give you an idea of how fast the world is moving. We cannot keep pace anymore with the speed at which the world is moving. But if you know how fast the world is moving, you might be able to direct us to certain of the professions that will be sought after in the near future. Currently, he's working with certain schools in conjunction with some of the financial institutions and trying to upskill the schools in disadvantaged areas. In Nikopo, for one of them, he's involved in Islamic organizations. He's involved on the boards of Islamic schools as well. So with those few words, let me call upon Mr. Bayat to spend about 45 minutes with you and to give you his words of advice, inshallah.
Jazakallah, Advocate Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. At the outset, I must say that all knowledge comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all the accolades and all the good things that He has said about me, I think I owe it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for blessing me and giving me the opportunity to serve young people in this country of ours. I had been in teaching for 42 years. Unfortunately, we had to retire once you turn 65 in the state services, and I think that I would continue to work with young people because that was giving us a great deal of joy. I've entitled my talk, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, happiness quotient and chaos theory. And this may seem to be quite diverse ideas, but in the end you will see how we can tie all of this up. The modern world requires us to be team players, lateral thinkers, as well as independent workers. And you are saying team players and independent workers, how can that work? But you will realize, and as I think we've got the cream of the crop here, we've got the bright sparks, that such things cannot happen by simply rote learning using my name by heart. Okay, we are into the 4th industrial revolution, and if you haven't heard of this at all, this is the time that you come to terms with it. The first industrial revolution depended on water power and steam. The second one was on mass production and assembly line, your motor cars, etc. The third one dependent on computer and automation, and the fourth one is on cyber physical systems. Now you are in an era where you have your cell phones, you have computers, etc. In the last century, many moons ago, we used an adding machine. We used to tap things in there and pull a lever, and it totaled up for us and gave us an answer. And then when the computer came out, when the calculator came out, we were all fascinated with it, and then we've gone on. So might be talking about things that you haven't even seen or heard of. We had tape recorders, we had 8-track players, we had movies on reels. All of that has gone now digital. You as young people will be required to think outside the box, and that's a popular term meaning thinking differently from everybody else. And our schools in South Africa are not geared towards the STEM fields. STEM meaning science, technology, engineering and mathematics. It's very important for us to be in those fields and to be really good at it as far as those are concerned. The technologies that we are coming across are changing at a phenomenal rate. In the first 3 industrial revolutions, they are moving faster now in the 4th industrial revolution than in the first 3 industrial revolutions. You have mobile internet, you have the Internet of Things, you have AI, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, and advanced materials that are now going to take us somewhere else. Now there are jobs that you may have to enter in the future that have not even been created as yet. There are cases, for example, with 3D printing where doctors have used 3D printing to simulate conjoined twins, twins who are born joined somewhere in the body, and this is twins who were joined at the head. And they use 3D printing to create a lifelike scenario where they practiced on these, I might use the word dolls, to separate them. And then in the middle of the operation, they discovered that there was a vein or there was an artery or something, and then they had to get another simulation, and they were able to separate them successfully because they were able to see and they had practiced on it before they did something. Now, doctors, we think they're going to do an operation, etc. So, in the 4th industrial revolution, for you, creativity will become an important aspect. If you look at it, if you look at Uber, have you all heard of Uber? You have? Say something, please, otherwise I think everybody's sleeping after eating the chicken curry and rice. You have heard of Uber, you've heard of Facebook, you've heard of Airbnb. Right, now these are companies, I'm using the word companies in inverted commas, that have hit us by storm in the recent past. Uber is worth $51 billion in just 9 years. And It does not own a single car. Am I creating the... Sorry. Uber doesn't own a single car. It doesn't employ any drivers at all, yet it is a very, very successful company that operates like a taxi. Airbnb doesn't own a single property, I think you'll have to get somebody. You can hear me? Airbnb doesn't own a single property, single property, doesn't own a hotel, nothing of that sort, but it accommodates thousands of people every single day. Similarly, Facebook doesn't create any media, but it is the biggest media house in the world because you and I post on it and all the news gets onto it. So obviously, the news that we're having cereal for breakfast or I'm going to the bathroom, etc., is not really creating news, but it's there. Now, the challenge for schools, and I'm not sure if there are any teachers here, the challenge for schools and for you who are in schools is to be innovative, to be different in the way in which you deal with literacy, numeracy, creative thinking, and the other soft skills required for the fourth industrial revolutions. Now, soft skills, these are the skills that you require. For example, communication skills, to be able to talk to other people, to be able to write to other people, etc. The ability to work in a team. This is something that you'll have to learn as well. Problem-solving skills. This is the most important one. This is the thing that stumps you most in mathematics. Leadership skills. To take charge of a team, to go forward and to move with them. Can I remove this and you'll still get a sound there? Or you need me on with it?
Unless you want to use the podium.
No, I'm happy with this.
It's fine, we can hear you.
I thought you can hear me without it. All right. And it's very strong. Leadership skills, you don't have to have a title. They are leaders without titles. If you come into a little group, if you're in a little group of people, when you start a soccer team, you'll find that somebody or the other is taking that leadership. If you're going on a trip somewhere, somebody or other is organizing it, making sure that you get your tickets or whatever it is. So there are people who are there with certain skills who become leaders. And then a strong work ethic. And that's very, very important, that you must be able to do something, and I'm coming to that as far as happiness quotient is concerned, to have a work ethic that is very strong, that you enjoy what you are doing. Now, I've been speaking to governing bodies, I've been speaking to my own governing body, to teachers, to pupils, etc., that they have to deliver world-class education. We have to deliver world-class education to our pupils if we are going to keep pace with what is happening. Sadly, in South Africa, that's not happening. And hence, it depends on organizations like the Bright Sparks Forum and like-minded people to take up the cudgels on your behalf, to take you to a level higher than what you'll be expecting in your schools. Most of you are from independent schools. You are getting a good education there, and depending on the resources of the school, you would be able to do well. But thus far, none of our schools, I think, have even got a 3D printer at the institution. So that's one of the things that we should be looking at as far as that's concerned. Now, we need to develop our pupils. We need you to be coming to school, to enjoy it, and to enjoy what you are doing at school. And this is where perhaps out of these sessions that you are coming here and elsewhere, that you will be able to feel that you're going to we're going to unearth your talent, so that in a few years' time we can look back and say, yes, Muhammad or Fatima or whoever it is that was at the Bright Sparks Forum has made an impact. Now, one of the ways to ensure that you keep abreast of the latest trends is to read. Not your cell phone, but to read something that is worthwhile, that you can get. And I'm going to show you a clip now. If you just play that for me, Mohammed. It's an interesting clip, and this is what we call serendipity. I received it last week.
I encourage people to read at a minimum of 30 to 40 pages of something positive every day to program your mind, and all of us can do that. We can go to the library and check out books. When I think about Og Mandino, who wrote The Greatest Salesman in the World, he was on the verge of committing suicide, went to the library, read the book Think and Grow Rich, and his life turned around. So reading and programming ourselves, the reason that most people should do that, psychologists say that 86% of our self-talk is negative, and it goes undetected by the conscious mind. That's why we're taught, be ye not conformed to this world, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Listen to recordings and things that are positive. Go on YouTube and find things that will begin to empower you. And minimize the distractions in your life. We have so many distractions. The weapons of mass distractions cause most people not to begin to live their lives from the inside out, but from the outside in. You know, there's an African proverb that said, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. Shakespeare said, the forte of Brutus is not in our stars, but in ourselves, and we are underlings. So you have to program yourself, or your mind will be programmed. The other thing is that have goals that's beyond your comfort zone, because in order to do something you've never done, you've got to become someone you've never been. You've got to become a risk taker. This God said, if you're not willing to risk, you can't grow. And if you can't grow, you can't become your best. And if you can't become your best, you can't be happy. And if you can't be happy, then what else is there? And the other thing is upgrade your relationships. You earn within $2,000 to $3,000 of your closest friends. You've got to look at the people in your life and ask, what is this relationship doing to me? There are many people, because of the toxic, negative, energy-draining people in their lives, they will never be successful, because those toxic relationships will compromise their power. There's a new term in psychology, in psychiatry, called relational illness. There's some people that can make you sick. Now, some people might say, Les, can we change you? No. It's a full-time job changing yourself. And there's some people that's so negative, they can walk into a dark room and begin to develop.
A couple of things that come out from there. The important thing is read, and you know, you've heard this time and time again, that the first word that was revealed to our Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Iqraa, and there's a whole tafsir on that that can take a good couple of days and a good couple of volumes. But reading is very, very important, and for you as young people, you are now in grades 10 and 11, going to grade 12, going out into the big world, you need to continue to read. I still enjoy reading, whatever I lay my hands on, if it be it spiritual, be it recreational, or whatever it is. It's good to be able to read. It broadens your horizon. You know more about everything, and you'll enjoy yourself as well. The next part of my talk, having dealt with the Fourth Industrial Revolution, the next part of my talk deals with happiness quotient, because you can get involved in the rat race and continue working, and you've known of people, there are people in your family, friends, etc., whose parents have been working day in and day out, and it just consumes their life. So I'm talking about the happiness quotient. How can you be happy in what you do, particularly when you leave high school, get into university, get into the career? So while I was researching this, I went to your favorite, Google, and sought some articles, and I found an article in the New York Times about how exercise improves immature minds. Unfortunately, some of this research is not South African, it is from the US and the UK, but research has shown that fit youngsters, fit kids are brighter. Now, what they did is that they tested little children, young people, primary school children, for levels of fitness. And I got my wife who keeps pointing to me to say change the slide, so it helps. It just helps to have somebody at the back there to remind me. They were tested for levels of fitness. Then they were asked to do some problem solving, for example, what we say cognitive challenges. And then they used the MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, to measure activity in the brain. And they found that those youngsters who were fitter, they had two parts of the brain were larger in the case of the fit children rather than the ones who were unfit. And this deals with the parts that deal with attention, the part that deals with coordinating thoughts and actions, and the part that deals with complex memory. So exercise simply does not build muscles. It does build muscles, but it's not only that. They also believe that they produce some certain growth factors and proteins that stimulate the brain. And with a more stimulated brain, you will tend to be a happier person. So you should be an active sportsman or sportswoman. It's the fit thing to do. Now, a recent survey, again UK, US, showed that 83% of people in secondary school were happy, and 28% of them were very happy. Now I'm wondering about you lot who are looking pretty glum here because you're here on a Saturday afternoon, but I hope that you are happy in school. And they also found that when you call a person to fix a roof, you're more than likely to find an unhappy person. But if you call a priest, and because it's UK, US, but I've said it could be a Maulana, is looking very happy, or if you call a firefighter, they are generally happy. And I'm coming to why these people are happy there. Again, that the most satisfying jobs are in professions involved in serving others, caring for others, teaching others, and protecting others. Contrary to what you may believe, teachers feel quite happy in their job. They may complain about it all the time, but we're there for life. So again, happiest in the jobs are the clergy, 67 very happy, followed by firefighters and travel agent. That's a nice name they've got for them, transportation reservation agents. Other careers high in the happiness quotient include architects, special education teachers, and that's an interesting one because you are dealing with people who have some form of difficulty, either physical or mental, and if you get them through the day, if you teach them one thing at all, there's a great deal of satisfaction. For us as teachers, for me, even now, if I'm in wherever, either on the beach or at a supermarket or something like that, somebody comes up to me and comes up with their own child and says, Mr. Bayat taught me English in 1989 in Lake Haven, and then I try to remember who it was because I've seen close on to 10,000 pupils in my career, and then I'll have to pretend that I remember who it was. Unless he was a troublemaker, then I remember him instantly. But the joy for us is to see those people who came to us and who made some form of progress in life, who become productive members of society. And this is what we're talking about, happiness quotient. It might not just be the money that is important. So your feeling about your work, what you do, if you're happy with your work in the school, and you will find that out of the 7 subjects that you are doing, there probably is one that you're not too happy about, and you do it reluctantly because it has to be done. Afrikaans, for example, right? I can see some people nodding here. Afrikaans, for example, but you have to do it because you're going to have to pass it. But then you enjoy your maths so much, you'll spend more time on it. That is your attitude that is there towards it. If your skills in an activity are poor, you're not going to be happy doing it day after day for the rest of your life, right? Some students, universities have found that some students go into professions that they don't enjoy. They just go, it's the day-to-day drudgery of that work. Talent sometimes is overrated. There is a book written by Jeff Colvin that says talent is overrated. You need ability, but you need to work hard at whatever you are doing to be successful at it. Gary Player said that the more I practice, the luckier I get. You know, some people said that Gary Player, by the way, was a golfer. He was a top South African golfer. Or even A.B. de Villiers or Hashim Amma, or whoever it is, who says that the more I practice, the luckier I get. It's not just luck. It's the practice, it's the hard work that they put into it. You've seen this in your soccer players, in the cricketers, rugby players, that they train day in and day out, and that's where they work. Gordon also says that for you to be successful in your job, you need to become a linchpin. Now, I'm not an engineer, but a linchpin is a small little clip that fits into the axle that prevents the wheel from falling out. If you've seen old carts, you don't make carts anymore, young people. We used to make carts in the old days. Like the pram wheel. It has a little pin, split pin in there that prevents the wheel from coming out. So the linchpin, it's a cheap thing. You can buy it at any hardware store, but it plays a very important role, because if you did not have it there, then the wheels will come off your vehicle or whatever it is that you are operating. Now, it's a locking pin, it's not glamorous, and it can be purchased very cheaply. Now, organizations, companies, businesses benefit from having a linchpin, somebody who is important, somebody who is relevant. And the linchpin benefits from being in that company as well. So there are lots of them. There's, for example, Google had a lady by the name of Marissa Mayer, who was able to show them how when they open up Google, that it is totally uncluttered, because people found that when you open up a web page, if it is cluttered up completely, then they get turned off and they go away. So your Google page, if you open it and have a look at it, you see that it is totally uncluttered. And that was not her job, but she went in there. He also uses the example of a restaurant that has 4 waiters. Now, I'm not suggesting that all of you become waiters. It's good for pocket money when you are in school, but I don't think many of our children, Muslim children, become waiters and waitrons, etc. But these 4 waiters at the restaurant, 3 of them are very good at it. They can take their orders very quickly, they can take it efficiently, they can go back, get it done, get the cook to prepare it, get the chef to prepare it, and they can serve very fast, and they're pretty good. But there are lots and lots of them at the moment unemployed, so those 3 can be replaced easily. The 4th one is slightly laid back. He can take the orders, he's not as fast, he's not as efficient as others, but during the course of the day, he can do other things. If there's a long queue waiting for the ladies' cloakroom, he can go up to them, speak to them and say, oh, if there's a long queue waiting for tables, ladies, you can use the cloakroom at the end on that side, etc. And if they go to that one, come back. By the time they come back, he has a table ready for them. He has calmed them down. They are all smiles, and if they are all smiles, they'll probably spend a little bit more money there and give him a bigger tip. But they found that he enjoyed his job simply because of the positive feedback that he got from his customers. And this is something that we need to work, where if we are in the service industry, we need to interact with people in a way that we can get, it works both ways. How many of us have been to Woolworths, Pick and Pay, ShopRite, wherever it is, and I get annoyed at it, where the person at the counter, when we ask for 6 rolls, is putting the 6 rolls in the packet but is talking to somebody else at the same time, or talking on their cell phone, and it is annoying because they're not giving me 100% attention and I am the customer. Maybe you don't do that kind of shopping at the moment, but you'll find that as you grow up and you're helping your parents shopping, etc., you'll realize that you need 100% attention from them. So the fourth waiter, if there's going to be retrenchment, the fourth waiter is going to be the one that is going to be kept first, rather than the other 3 super efficient ones, because if you need any more, you can bring them at short notice. In the past, there used to be 2 teams in the workplace, management and labor force. Now they are the linchpins. They are the ones, the crucial ones in the school, in the workplace, in the universities, wherever they are. And that's an important aspect that we should bear in mind. And this brings me to the third point, third part of my talk this afternoon, and that is chaos theory. There is a thing called the butterfly effect, and this was a meteorologist, Edward Lorenz, who spoke about it, and he says that the flutter of a butterfly's wings, how much power does it have? But it can start off somewhere in Brazil and create a tornado in America, for example. So if you look at it, the butterfly effect, if an avalanche, for example, a little pebble that is kicked can roll down, and by the time it finishes off will have a huge boulder. Or if you take a snowball, we're not used to it, we might have seen this in pictures, take one snowball and roll it down a hill, and it gains momentum and it becomes a huge one. So a little impetus will create a huge and can cause serious problems. Now, a lot of this, for example, a little wave starting somewhere can create a tsunami somewhere else. But I'm looking at the positive side of chaos theory. It can be something that is positive. There was a story about a young boy called Senzo Mbambo. He had gastroenteritis, stomach problems, diarrhea, running stomach. He went into shock. This is a young little fellow from a rural area, and as a result of that, they had to amputate his fingertips and his legs. Rural area, in severe pain. For him to be taken to the clinic, it meant like 3-4 hours walk to the clinic and back again. Remember, amputated legs, fingertips. But there was an article appeared in the Sunday Tribune, and a butterfly flapped its wings. There was a lady by the name of Michelle McIntosh. She looked at that, she felt that she needed to do something. She rallied around her friends, neighbors, relatives, etc., got a bucky load of medicines, food, clothing, and other supplies, drove 3 hours to where Songezo was staying, and handed over the stuff to the mother. And the mother was overjoyed because there was nothing coming there. Then there was a man by the name of Ray Rethman, who was a chiropractor who sponsored laser therapy. And this is in Durban, 3 hours away from where they are staying. So where do they stay when they come here? We have Rita Joubert. She opened her home. She brought them into our house and allowed them to stay there, and while the youngster was treated. Now it all started with that article in the Sunday Tribune, Michelle McIntosh doing it, and it had a knock-on effect. And this is something that we've seen in our communities with the NGOs. If you look at IPCI, if you look at Gift of the Givers, if you look at Al-Imdad, if you look at Africa Muslims Agency, and there's various others that have initiated projects whenever people needed some assistance. In your schools, I know that you have taken on projects where you have been able to assist other underprivileged people, even if you don't have much yourselves in your case. So we are surrounded by problems, we are surrounded by hardship and poverty, and it becomes challenging for us to buy into the positive social understanding of the butterfly effect. They did not sit back and allow somebody else to do it. They led by example, they took it upon themselves. And again, the joy of doing something, and you are young people who can start young enough, you can buy into this butterfly effect by initiating and responding to calls for assistance. You've done it. Rohingya, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Israel, Palestine, etc. In your small way, you might have done something, even if you made dua for them. So that's an important aspect that you should be looking into. You've been involved in blanket drives, you've been involved in toys, collection of toys, etc. You would have realized that some small actions can ripple into huge things. Gift of the Givers, for example, started very, very small, but it's grown into a very huge organization. IPC, well, now it's IPCI. IPC started long, long ago by Sheikh Ahmad Didat in a small office, and I think they operated initially from Madrasa Arcade, if I remember clearly, in a small office that might have been 2 meters by 2 meters, and it's grown into an organization like this because there was one person who initiated it, and it just kept growing bigger and bigger. Which brings me back to what I might have said at the beginning, that your academic results are important. Don't neglect that at all. Your schoolwork, academic results are important, but you must also focus on serving your community. You must focus on serving society and humanity in general. And we feel that in the past we had lots and lots of philanthropists. Philanthropists are those who do work, who do good work, charitable work for other people. That the breed of philanthropists are dying, that we are not replacing them fast enough to be able to do something as far as assisting the humanity is concerned. So it's my earnest prayer, my dua, that we educate our children to the best of our ability, and that you take advantage of all the sessions that we are going to have at the Bright Sparks Forum over the next couple of months, and that we are able to imbue you with good morals, values and character, so that you can serve yourself, your family and others in need, and most importantly to serve Allah Ta'ala. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Last one there, sorry. When a man dies, all his good deeds come to an end except 3: ongoing charity, sadqa jariyah, beneficial knowledge, which I hope I've imparted to you, and a righteous son. And obviously it would include a daughter as well. I think daughters pray more for their parents than sons, but a righteous child who prays for him. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, we thank Mr. Riyad for that informative presentation. Some of the things that he touched on, 3 things in particular, and one is the 4th Industrial Revolution. Again, emphasizing how fast the world is moving, so we need to be aware of what type of opportunities, what type of career opportunities there will be in future, and we must try and focus even in choosing our subjects or choosing what we do at university. Bear that in mind. Studies have found the learners in school today, 60% of the jobs that they will be doing when they go out in the working world haven't even been thought of today. Haven't even been thought of, so you can imagine so fast the world is moving. They say engineering, when the students are in the first year of engineering or first year of their IT degrees, by the time they reach the 3rd or 4th year, whatever they learned in the first year is already outdated. And someone was mentioning recently, and it was fascinating to me because I come from a legal background, and they said that the professions that are definitely going to be affected very, very badly with the 4th Industrial Revolution is the legal profession, the medical profession, and the accounting profession. So they have mentioned a little about the medical profession, but just to give an idea about the legal profession. Studies have found in America that out of the top 10 legal firms, they've retrenched 80% of their staff in each of the 10 top legal firms. Why is this so? Because computers are answering the questions now, the legal questions. There's a computer system called Watson, and if you have any problem legally, you pose the question to the computer will give you the answer in much shorter time, far more accurate than a human being. So the result that even the legal profession is going to be facing huge challenges. So that what we need to do is bear in mind, ask your teachers, ask other experts like Mr. Bayat and others, what type of profession should you go into? Okay? So that's the one thing that he mentioned. The other thing that he also mentioned is that the happiness quotient. We need to be happy in what we're doing, because when we're happy in what we're doing, then we'll love what we're doing and also we'll be successful in it. And the third thing that he mentioned also was getting involved in the communities. It's absolutely important for us to give back into the communities. What sometimes happens, the experience of organizations that give bursaries, is that once the students qualify, very few of them give back anything into the community. So we've got these opportunities, make the most of them, but when the time comes to give back into the community, we must do that. We'll do that, inshallah? Okay, so with those few words, I thank Mr. Bayat again and his wonderful wife, Aisha, for making themselves available. Mrs. Bayat was also a principal of schools. She was a principal for many years at Crescent Girls. So we've got a gift here for Mrs. Bayat, for Mr. Bayat, but since Mrs. Bayat is here, I think I might just hand it over to you. Mrs. Bayat, come forward, please. Thank you very much. And as she was mentioning, whilst Mr. Bayat was putting his PowerPoint presentation, Mrs. Bayat was assisting him, and she said that behind every successful man is a. When as you mentioned, even the slides, I noticed it also. Every time he looked at Mrs. Bayat, then he knew that he had to move the slide.
Teamwork.
That's part of it. Okay, so with those few words, we thank both Mr. and Mr. Bayat for making yourself available. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you long life, good health to continue the good work that you're doing, inshallah.
But the 90% that lies beneath the surface represents your character. And listen, it's what's below the surface that sinks the ship. Very few of us are mindful of the fact that in our day-to-day interactions with people, it's the invisible part of our lives that's actually most important. 90% of our influence lies in qualities beneath the surface that nobody sees. But yet, isn't it true? We spend the vast majority of our lives getting the part, that small part that everybody sees. How we look, how we sound, how we smell, how's the fragrance, how's the shampoo. I mean, we're caught up in our image, the stuff above the surface. But really, the iceberg reminds me that what matters most is what's below the surface. It's our character. Ultimately, people are going to be asking the question, can I trust you? How do you deal with others? Do you have any sense of integrity? Do you live by values and principles? Or can I not trust you? Do I have no idea what you're going to do next? And will you turn on me next week? I don't know about you, but I cannot think of an iceberg without thinking about that classic story of the Titanic. Remember that story? An amazing, tragic story that took place in April 1912. Now, the story you all remember is that was called the unsinkable ship. In fact, the reason they didn't have enough lifeboats on board the ship was they didn't think they'd ever need them. The part that you may not know, however, is this. The Titanic received 5 explicit iceberg warnings that fateful night of April 14th, 1912. No one paid any attention to those warnings. And when the 6th and final warning came in the wee hours of the morning, April 15th, 1912, the telegraph operator wired back 4 simple words. Shut up, I'm busy. 30 minutes later, exactly, the ship had hit the iceberg and was going down. And hundreds of people unnecessarily lost their life because no one was paying any attention. Now, I don't want to borrow too much from the story, but doesn't that sound sometimes like me and you? We get warnings from the people around us, our parents, our teachers, our classmates, our siblings, our coaches. And sometimes all we can say back is, shut up, I'm busy. The show must go on. We're busy doing stuff that everybody can see, posting our Facebook profile or updating some video on YouTube or whatever it is we're doing. But we're mesmerized by the image, the appearance, rather than the substance. And sometimes I think the warnings are actually put there to keep us from veering off track. For instance, let me give you a simple illustration. I think very few people actually wake up in the morning and say, I think I'm just going to exhibit very poor character today. I'm going to go rob a bank. I don't think we're thinking this. But I do think we make small decisions that sometimes cause us to move in a direction that forces us to become people we never wanted to become. We say things like, oh, that was just a little white lie. It's not going to hurt anybody. Or, I just cheated on one answer on that test. It's no big deal. Or, I just took a little money from that petty cash drawer. They're rich around here. They'll never miss it. But soon, we're moving down a path, and we're becoming, as I mentioned, a person that we never intended to become. Now, let me illustrate why this is so important as you continue living your life. Much has been written about post-traumatic stress syndrome in veterans of foreign wars, meaning we send our soldiers out to war, Vietnam or the Persian Gulf or whatever, and when they come back, they often suffer incredible stress. Much has been written, particularly about the stress that was suffered by soldiers after the Vietnam War, but I'll never forget reading one particular piece. It was talking about the large volume of soldiers that suffered from this post-traumatic stress, not because of gunfire or grenades going off, but because of the lack of ethics in their officers above them. In other words, their leaders who lacked character and ethics and values and integrity, who couldn't be trusted that they had their best interests in mind. The soldiers were suffering even more because they